Associated Press report coming out of Afghanistan that explosions, anti-aircraft fire has been heard, has been seen in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. You would not at all be surprised to learn that the operation has in fact begun.
Oh, no. No, I think that we've put all the pieces in place to move, and it's just a matter of when it would happen.
Senator, I want to show our viewers, we have a live picture that we're showing from Kabul. That is a nightscope image. It's now 8.5 hours beyond the East Coast time zone in Kabul. We're seeing some flashes over there, but we're going to continue talking as we show these live pictures from Kabul. The Associated Press reporting that there is thunderous explosions and the rattle of anti-aircraft fire that's been heard throughout the Afghan capital. Electricity has been shut off, according to the Associated Press as well. We're going to keep showing these live pictures from Kabul as we continue talking. We're just now being told, Senator Edwards, that Pentagon sources have confirmed to our own military affairs correspondent Jamie McIntyre that the attack, the U.S. strike, has in fact begun, that what we are seeing and hearing in Kabul are in fact the sights and sounds coming from a U.S.-led attack on positions in and around Kabul. And this picture that we're now seeing, by the way, is courtesy of Al Jazeera television, a cable news network based in Qatar in the Persian Gulf. These are exclusive pictures. We do have our correspondent Kamal Haider. He's on the telephone right now from somewhere in Afghanistan. I want to bring him in. Kamal, if you can hear me, tell us what you are seeing and hearing from your vantage point. Kamal, here's Ari Fleischer right now. Yeah. Kamal, stand by. Ari Fleischer is walking in.
Another front in our war against terrorism, so freedom can prevail over fear. The President will address the nation at 12:50. Thank you.
All right, when did the President give the order?
That's it. We heard Ari Fleischer say at 12:50 Eastern Time, in about 7 or 8 minutes from now, the President will be addressing the nation about what is going on. Clearly, the U.S. has begun its strike against targets in and around Afghanistan. If Kamal Haider, our reporter somewhere in Afghanistan, is still available, are you there, Kamal?
Yes, Wolf, I'm here. In fact, just 2-3 minutes ago, I got a call from my men in Kandahar city and our office there. They said that they heard very loud explosions far away towards the airport, as well as the electric power supply center within the city, or possibly higher in the near the Kajaki area. But they said they heard very loud explosions and the ground shook, and that they can and that Kandahar is deprived of electric power. Wolf.
So now we hearing from you that Kandahar has also been attacked, and of course we're getting reports from Kabul that there's been an attack there. The White House press secretary Ari Fleischer just a moment or so ago saying the President will be addressing the American public in about 6 or 7 minutes from now. Our Major Garrett, our White House correspondent, is standing by at the White House. Major, what do you know about what's going on?
Well, Wolf, we know this. When the President arrived here about 10:40 Eastern Time, he went straight to the Oval Office, obtained some papers, went back to the residence. I can tell you the President's chief speechwriter, Mike Gerson, is here in the building, has been for the good part of the morning. President's Chief of Staff, Andrew Card, many members of the President's senior staff here in the building. That's unusual for a Sunday, to say the very least. Even on a Sunday, the United States has been for a good long while on a war footing. As Ari Fleischer said, the President will make a statement at 12:50 in the campaign. One front of the campaign against terrorism has begun. So in his words, freedom can prevail over fear.
The first effort here will be cruise missiles directed at air defense locations. The first thing the U.S. wants to do is neutralize some of the air defenses. That gives them more latitude to attack other targets and to bring in manned aircraft. Among the first targets is also expected to be terrorist training camps in Afghanistan, on the chance that there still might be some people there even though there has been a lot of telegraphing of this strike today, including statements from the Northern Alliance that they believed the attacks would help today. But again, these explosions that we're seeing coincide with the U.S. plans for the first cruise missiles to start landing at targets in Afghanistan, and Pentagon sources confirm that the attack against targets in Afghanistan is underway.
Chris Burns is with us. Chris is in northern Afghanistan. Chris, if you can hear me, what are you hearing from your location?
Aaron, in the past hour we heard a number of explosions, at least 8 very distinct explosions. Some of them actually lit the sky that was toward Kabul. We are, of course, on the other side of the front line between here and Kabul. We saw a number of explosions. We heard a number of blasts. Some that were that seemed fairly close by, and others far in the distance. Of course, that front line does extend for quite a few miles, but this is something that had been, of course, expected and warned about by U.S. officials as well as Northern Alliance. In fact, the Northern Alliance Foreign Minister said earlier today that he said that an attack was imminent. When those blasts happened, we called the Northern Alliance. They said initially that it was rocket fire from their own people at various positions of the Taliban that they said were building up. However, of course, we've found in between times that we've heard from the Pentagon that the airstrikes have begun. With our night scope cameras from this side, we are seeing a number of flashes and blasts. We also saw some anti-aircraft fire being thrown up from Kabul, which is about 70 kilometers, about 45 miles to the south of here. So we are seeing quite a bit of activity from that point. We heard one aircraft fly by from west to east. We also heard more rockets and artillery. So it does seem that it might be somewhat coordinated between what the U.S. is doing as well as what the Northern Alliance are doing on the ground. Aaron?
That would be consistent with the planning that we've heard. Chris, 2 quick things. Give me and give our viewers what time it is there.
Well, it's about 9:45 right now.
Okay.
The explosions, the first explosions we heard were just a little over an hour ago, Aaron.
Okay, Chris, thank you. Stand by. We're a couple minutes now from the president speaking to the country. We want to quickly go then to Christian Amanpour, who is in Islamabad. Christian, are you hearing anything out of the Pakistani side at this point?
You know, just a few moments ago, we had the Pakistani foreign minister in our studios here. He was doing an interview with Wolf Blitzer's Late Edition. I talked to him afterwards about what he was hearing and what timing, and literally, I suppose it was at about the time these airstrikes were beginning to get underway. And he had said, listen, there are only 2 people in this world who are going to know, and they're in Washington and maybe even in London. He had been told that perhaps soon, and clearly that was the sentiment here in Pakistan over the last few days, and really everywhere. If there has been a buzz, so to speak, it has been that this is going to be imminent. We've heard a lot of different and conflicting things that have been coming out of the Taliban-controlled parts of Pakistan. As you mentioned before, or rather Afghanistan, you mentioned before the Northern Alliance, the United Front, had basically been telling reporters today that they believed that it was going to happen because they had been told to stop flying their planes over that area. We heard today from our people inside Taliban-controlled Afghanistan that the Taliban were basically going about business almost as usual. The Taliban defense minister had toured troops that they had apparently deployed near the Pakistani border. Taliban saying that they had sent several thousands of troops up to Uzbekistan border. As you know, in Uzbekistan, the United States is deploying ground troops there, members of the 10th Mountain Division. Also, we were hearing from our people inside Afghanistan that many people who had fled out of fear of potential attacks over the last few weeks were beginning to go back into the cities, according to some reports that we've heard inside Afghanistan. We don't know how widespread that is. But as you know, over the last few days, the supreme leader of the Taliban was almost pleading with people to come back to the cities, saying that it's not going to happen, the United States has no reason to do this, and essentially, in some messages, even taunting the United States to do it. So all these messages and conflicting statements coming out, but it has to be said that over the last 24 hours, the expectation has grown. People expecting what has just happened right now and what apparently is still underway in Afghanistan, Aaron.
I was going to say, the expectations have been met. We are perhaps only moments away from, Christiane, you might stand by, we are just moments away, we believe, from the president addressing the country. and we'll let you know as soon as we get the 2-minute warning on when that will happen. A short time ago, Ari Fleischer, the president's spokesman, came out in a very terse, direct statement, said we are beginning another front in our war against terrorism so that freedom can prevail over fear. That announcement came several minutes, perhaps 10 minutes after we started getting reports of explosions in both Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, and in Kandahar, which is the spiritual center of the Taliban, the ruling party in Afghanistan. That is by and large where the main Taliban officials are located, in Kandahar. I don't know if we can get to a map and show proximities here. Kabul to the north, the capital, and then Kandahar to the south, not terribly far from the Pakistani border, to give you some idea. If General Clark is hooked up, perhaps we could not. Okay, before we go to you, Wes, let's go to Major Garrett at the White House. Major?
Yes, Aaron. The president will be addressing the nation very, very shortly from the treaty room in the White House residence itself, we are told by White House officials. The president foreshadowed this very moment yesterday in the weekly radio address when, for the first time, he said time is running out on the Taliban regime. You might recall on Tuesday that very question and exactly that formulation was put to the president. On Tuesday, he said there was no timetable, but things changed as Donald Rumsfeld continued the defense secretary continued his negotiations and talks with potential coalition partners throughout the region. He returned to the United States, participated in a lengthy national security video teleconference with the president yesterday. President very soon to address the nation on this topic, but yesterday he made it clear time was running out, and very clearly he meant it. Aaron?
He did indeed. Stand by. Let me go to Wes Clark. General, tell me, based on your knowledge, which is obviously considerable, what are U.S. forces doing right now?
Well, Aaron, I think this is the early stage of an air operation that's obviously aimed first at the command and control of the air defense, the electricity that supports it, the bunkers, the missile launching sites. We saw one of these missiles apparently fired yesterday, and in general to clear the decks and free the skies so we've got as close to unimpeded access as we can have.
Wes, General, I don't know what, I'll call you both. Do we know how many of these installations that the United States will go after? Do we have a rough idea? Are we talking dozens? Are we talking a couple?
We don't have an idea here. It'll be clear soon as we work through the operation and watch it. Obviously, Kabul and Kandahar have the electric generating there and probably some headquarters there, maybe what we would call a sector operations center or something. My guess would be a dozen or more areas would be struck in this first wave.
And General, can you give us a sense of how sophisticated the Afghanistan air defenses are?
They do have radars. Some of the radars have most likely been updated, but we're not going to face a first world air defense system that's totally integrated. This is one that we will be able to take down.
Yeah, compare this to what the U.S. forces faced in Iraq or in Kosovo.
I think it's substantially less sophisticated than what we faced in Kosovo or in Iraq.
So in terms of just military planning, this would be, none of these operations is easy, and we don't want to say anything that will suggest that it is easy. It is just somewhat easier than what they faced before.
Well, it may be simpler in terms of the sophistication of the enemy defense, but it's going to also be difficult because we're not going to want to strike civilians and hurt innocent civilians in this, and we're going to want to do as complete a job with the first set of strikes as we possibly can. So there's a lot of pressure on our troops and our leaders here to do this right.
There is indeed. Wes, stand by, if you will. Christiane Amanpour back in Islamabad. Christiane, are you picking up more?
Quiet just now.
Yes, as we try to get the little bits of picture here to try to fill in what's going on, we're on the phone with a CNN employee who is in Kandahar, who basically said that from his point in Kandahar, it started about 20 minutes ago. They heard 3 explosions. He described it as like an earthquake. He said the electricity has gone out. He said he has not been able to detect any return fire or any anti-aircraft fire or any response from the ground. He says he believes that it's some 10 to 20, even 30 kilometers kilometers away from where exactly he is. That may or may not be near the airport. But that is basically what we've just heard from a CNN employee, and who's also saying that people have started to run out of the city once they started to hear these explosions. Again, 20 minutes ago in the Kandahar area, according to the CNN employee there that we just spoke to on the phone, and nothing since then. Aaron?
Christiane, you might take a moment here while we wait for the president to explain the significance of Kandahar to both the Taliban side and to the U.S. side.
Well, Kandahar is, of course, the notorious now seat of the Taliban ruling militia. It's also one of the religious seats there, and it has been really the sort of the focal point of where the Taliban has been. It is where the hardline spiritual leader of the Taliban, known as Mullah Mohammed, sits, Mohammed Omar. He has been there. That's where all their, proclamations have come out. That is also around there where Osama bin Laden has been based, certainly in the past and in the recent past. So that is a very significant seat of the actual Taliban ruling power in terms of the hardliners who really do control what's going on. And now I am being told by our person there that they have, he believes, blown away the center command base at the airport. That is what we're hearing on the phone from our employee in Kandahar. Impossible for us here at this distance to confirm, but that is what he's being told, and that is what he believes, that a major piece of equipment, the command area in Kandahar airport, may have been destroyed.
Christiane, hang on. Let me go to Wes Clark for a second. General, tell me what the center command base is and its significance in all of this.
Well, obviously what we want to do is strike at where his command and control is for his air defense. We want to blind him. We want to discoordinate any of his missiles that might be operational, and it'd be a very logical thing to strike at the command posts, and it sounds like we hit one in Kandahar.
And what kind of weapons would be your best guess they're using here?
My guess would be we'd be using cruise missiles coming in, whether they're launched from the air or from ships at sea. Can't tell right now.
And given the location, or at least what we believe the location of U.S. forces are, is one more likely than the other? That is to say, an air launch versus a sea launch?
Well, I think it'll depend on what the target requires. The air launch to have larger warheads. There would have been more notice, possibly, if we'd gone with air-launched missiles. My guess is it's a combination of the two.
And General, we've got about 2 minutes before the president. I may have to interrupt you. But again, you might explain to our viewers what the properties, I guess, are of a cruise missile that make it appropriate for this.
Well, if the sea-launched cruise missiles will come out of the ocean from a submarine or from a surface ship, and they'll fly just under the speed of sound, powered by a small turbojet engine. They'll come in over the sea at low altitude. They'll climb. They've got very sophisticated guidance in them.
General, I'm going to interrupt you for a second, okay? We're going to probably have this happen several times today. Christiane, you're picking up some more information. We've got about a minute here.
Now on the phone with a senior Taliban official who's telling us that in radio communication with their people at the airport, they confirm that their rudimentary commando system base at the airport is destroyed, and their radar system there at the airport destroyed. They apparently say that they do not rely entirely on that command system because a lot of it is decentralized and a lot of their people work autonomously. However, they are confirming that 2 pieces of their command and control system is destroyed at the Kandahar airport. This from a Taliban official who we are talking to on the phone in Kandahar.